Testing. This is Psychic Paranormal with a video on the difference between different types of hauntings and what you can do to rid yourself of such paranormal activity. So as you can see behind me, I've created a list of your different types of hauntings. So we will begin with ghosts or wraiths. So ghosts and wraiths and these types of apparitions are human spirits which have passed on from the physical plane and are now haunting a location or people as a means of communicating a message and or to seek, in the case of wraiths, to seek a proper burial, revenge, or some type of communication, as I said before. Now, with these types of hauntings, you are going to experience things like apparitions, hearing sounds. You can experience the moving of objects, such as asports and apports, which are objects disappearing or appearing. However, you're not going to experience the throwing of objects or the moving of objects in a violent way, such as in Poltergeist Activity, which we will get to in a moment. So, you will also experience electronics malfunctioning or behaving strangely, lights flickering, that sort of a thing. But with that said, all of those sorts of experiences should be tested to make sure that it's not simply a natural explanation. Now, the next sort of haunting is residual haunting. So, unlike ghosts and wraiths and that sort of a haunting, a residual haunting is more like an imprint, as it's also referred to. So, with a residual haunting, you are going to have a non intelligent, non spirit form interacting. Well, actually, it's never going to interact with you. So, with this type of a haunting, what you're getting is a repeating action. So, unlike with actual spirit entities, the residual haunting is never going to interact with you. So, if you are seeing an apparition repeating an activity, let's say it continues to walk through your hallway every day. So, if you call to it and it does not react to you, does not respond, but continues on that same action or same set of actions, then this is a residual haunting. It's not an actual spirit entity, but is rather the imprint of repeated action and that sort of an energy imprint or a traumatic event. Now, this can be dealt with and eliminated by changing the environment, changing the atmosphere, and doing a cleansing. So with this, you could do something like sage and then paint, redecorate, make sure that you are making major changes to the environment, and that can end that sort of an activity. Now, the same thing goes for the ghost activity, except for the redecorating. You can sage and you can tell spirit to leave you alone or to leave your property, and that will deal with that sort of an activity. So, on to poltergeist activity. Poltergeist activity is actually said, I don't know if you can read this, but this is actually said to be PK or psychokinesis, which is also another form for telekinesis. So poltergeist activity is said to be caused rather by the person experiencing it or usually a youth, a juvenile within that home who is under a lot of stress. Now, if it's not a younger person, it's typically a person who is under a lot of stress and is in a state, in an emotional duress. So, this is believed widely to be caused by telekinesis. Now, I have read in Fighting Malevolent Spirits that this author believes she encountered demonic entities at every poltergeist case in which she investigated. So I found that an interesting thing. Now it is possible because poltergeist activity is, I should have mentioned earlier, associated with the throwing of objects, the scratching of furniture, or gashing of furniture as well, walls, etc. So this is a loud, noisy type of a haunting, and it can become, or rather with time, does become violent. So in the beginning, it will start as something like knocking, the throwing of pebbles is the next sort of a phase. And there are three or four different phases of this attack. So once it gets to the higher third and fourth phases, you're going to experience the throwing of larger and larger objects, and then things in the fourth phase are going to become actually physically harmfully dangerous. So that is understandable that she is relating it to demonic activity. So if this is telekinetic in nature, then to rid the activity, it would likely relate to something psychological, some sort of, let's say, cathartic release, some sort of a release of that pressure and that emotional state that that person is in. If it is demonic, then we will get to what to do, which would be an exorcism of the home or person. So now we are going to digress to demonic hauntings or demonic states of oppression and possession. So, demonic entities, unlike ghosts or any of the types of hauntings we've discussed thus far, are different in that while spirits are the deceased human spirits, demons are believed to be of a divine nature or a previously divine nature, pre existing man, and thus being a different type of an entity altogether. So, with these, there are two different states. Oppression is when, let's say, the experiencer is not actually possessed by said demonic entity, but rather being oppressed in life in their situation. So the demon may be in the environment or home of this person and causing this person certain issues and having certain paranormal activity, such as, again, the noises and the knocking and that sort of a thing to get the attention of a person. But depending on the type of entity, it's going to be different types of activity. So, for instance, in a succubi incubi sort of situation, you're going to have the draining of one's energy, particularly sexual energy, and this is going to be at nighttime, and it's going to be characterized by sleep paralysis, nightmares, the opposite sex having a negative reaction toward you over time or in general, um, as well as different types of traits. So it's going to depend on the type of attack, the type of entity. But, excuse me, in this case, what you're going to have to do is have an exorcism. So, aside from the, or rather different than the ghosts and the banishing, what you're going to do is not want to burn sage, not take action on your own, because that, in my opinion, is going to worsen the activity. It's going to heighten that activity. So what you want to do is actually get your home blessed and exorcised by a priest. I would suggest someone in the Catholic Church who is experienced in this, and then you afterward you may burn sage or that sort of a thing. So as with this, as well as the other types of hauntings, you do also want to depend on your personal faith. So if you are Catholic, Baptist, or that sort of religion, even Jewish, etc., then you want to call upon God. You want to call upon the Archangel Michael to help you with this sort of a case. Now, again, you don't want to begin this sort of activity until you are ready to do it all at once. So you want to have someone professionally come in and handle this for you. You don't want to begin doing the prayers, the blessings, or the exorcism on yourself, rather yourself. And with all of these cases, you don't want to do communication yourself. So you don't want to try to communicate with spirit, you don't want to use Ouija boards, and you don't want to take any action until you are actually sure of what type of a case you're having. So if you are curious as to what type of entity you're having and how you can go about handling it, you can contact me here. I'm also on oranum.com and kasamba.com, so you can send me a message there, and I will post the links to those sites below. So do like, comment, share, rate, and subscribe. This is Psychic Paranormal, and I'm available for a rate of $2.99 a minute American on oranum.com and kasamba.com. Thank you.